Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com, and don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold feelings on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name Elzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all in 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another Demon Baby Mama episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 298, recorded on Sunday, December 20th, 2020. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Anything for Jackson, which is a Shudder exclusive, brand new to Shudder. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. How are you?
I'll bet. A little birdie told me that you have the what we call the Jaguar drunks, which is what happens when you watch Jacksonville Jaguars football.
Yes.
Instead of celebrating, you drink.
Yes, it's a problem. I should have learned my lesson. Just don't watch. Don't watch anymore. It's not
Just
good.
don't look. Don't look.
Nobody wants to see it. It's a bloodbath, for sure. I think we lost by like 35 points, something like that.
Is that sincere?
Yeah,
I did not keep it.
That's sincere. Yeah.
That's the number? Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
It's brutal. But hey.
Thank God I hate sports.
Yeah.
That's the life for me.
What are you gonna do? Our boy Soju is taking the week off. However, we would like to welcome back to the show. It's been a while. I think last time we had Danielle on was like in January of this year, so it's been almost a year. Danielle from Something Ghoulish, welcome back to the show.
Hello. Wow, it's been a year?
Yeah, I think
it kind of doesn't feel like it, but then it does feel like it because this year sucks.
Yeah, it's been an extra long year.
And extra short at the same time. What episode was that? I can't remember.
Scream.
It was
Scream, that's right. Yeah, I knew it was one I couldn't be on, so.
Yeah.
But
it's like our second show of the year, I think. I believe.
Yeah, you want to know something fancy?
Yes.
What's that?
It's Scream's birthday today.
Oh, what? Shit!
Yeah, so I came on for Scream last time, and then today it's Scream's birthday. It's meant to be.
Nice.
Wow. I'll be right back. So that's the only quote I could think of.
Don't say that.
That's a good one. Yeah, you won't be back.
Yeah.
It does not apply to the situation in any way.
Yeah,
but
you're not going anywhere.
it certainly was from the movie.
It is. You were right.
Nice. Well,
wow.
That makes this episode all the more special. Danielle, would you like to take a minute and just let everybody know where they can find your spooky doings?
My spookiness? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I am actually getting a little tossed around in the Something Ghoulish universe. I was corresponding, doing interviews on Ghoulish Cast, but now I'm going to be doing correspondence and interviews just on the entire website for the thriller horror side. I'm going to be helping with The Descent, helping with Of Gods and Monsters. So basically, I just correspond for everyone on Something Ghoulish. And you can find all that cool stuff on somethingghoulish.com.
Nice.
You're the ace news hound.
I'm a news hound.
Hell yeah.
We
don't have one of those.
We really don't. And I want to make a point in saying I've tried to interview a handful of people and I'm very bad at it. Every time I listen to an episode of Something Ghoulish where you are conducting an interview, you are very, very good at it. So,
thank you.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And I definitely recommend, if you're listening and have not listened to Something Ghoulish, check it out. Danielle does really, really solid interviews for that program. So tune in.
I'm very glad that you say that because before I do an interview, I'm like, I'm really, really nervous. And I will tell you, when we talked to Sandy King, John Carpenter's wife, I'm like, dude, I had to ask her this question about some sort of plaque that someone got her that was supposed to be really funny. And I don't know what happened to my brain, to my mouth, but I could not get the question out. And I was just like, bleh. And she was like, that's okay. Try again. I'm like, actually, I'm going to take off. I can't. Like, this is it. I can't.
We got
this is too harsh.
We got it.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
even Woodward has his days, I'm sure.
yeah.
It does not come across as though you are nervous whatsoever. It seems like you're an old pro, and my hat's off to you. So keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Before we get into the main event this evening, let's go ahead and tackle some housekeeping real quick here. Here's another reminder. We have our January poll pick posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're going to be talking about this January. The theme for January is Review Redemption, in which we chose 3 movies that we have already reviewed, but we feel like maybe we didn't quite do them justice. So we would like a chance to talk about them once again. 3 movies that you can vote between are going to be Insidious, Reanimator, and Sleepaway Camp.
What's
the
numbers looking like? That's my juice. That's my juice impression.
I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Maybe I'm stupid.
Poor guy can't defend himself.
The guy's really taking a lick in this episode.
He can feel you talking about him. He's like, God damn it, dude.
Those
He's somewhere on a
bastards.
plane right now, white knuckling the armrest.
Something's wrong. There's a disturbance. Kevin. Yeah, exactly. Reanimator is currently winning, but it's only got 1 vote over Insidious.
Damn.
And, Sleepaway Camp only has like 3 votes behind Insidious. So they're all like still pretty close. Could go anyway.
People are tired of just talking about fucking Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, probably.
We
so,
talk
yeah.
about that movie so much.
Well, I think it deserves it. Not everybody
agree.
does. But yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your votes in before the end of December, and we'll see what wins and what we're going to be talking
Danielle,
about.
do you want to advocate for any of those films?
I advocate Sleepaway Camp. Sorry,
All
everyone
right.
Mhm.
I have only seen I'm thinking of Sinister. Never mind. Insidious.
Synastidious.
I can't do Insidious because of the Darth Maul looking dude. I can't. I can't. I cannot
Does
do
look like
it.
Darth Maul. Yeah.
Can't do it because it's frightening, or can't do it because it's dumb as hell?
It's dumb. And
All
like
right.
you guys know me. I love every horror movie that everyone else hates. Like everyone gives me shit for liking everything, but fuck, when that guy came onto the screen, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I like
But
it.
the rest of it's scary to me. Like they did a
Yeah.
great job with the rest of it, but nah.
No.
It goes
Maybe
either
it might
way. Like I could see somebody thinking it's goofy because it's really just like face paint on a man's face. you
I
know?
mean, well, and in fairness, the rest of the scares in that are just like people smiling real big and
Yeah.
big eyes
yeah.
Yeah.
really quietly. So,
I do
don't
really
know.
like the score of that movie and the soundtrack, like the sounds they do, like the little
great.
fiddle. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Let's just go ahead
little
and
Tiny Tim.
Let's review
Yeah,
Insidious
sorry.
right now. We're just
Yeah,
gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'll
jump
change
in.
all my notes.
plans.
Here we go. But yeah, please get your votes in before the end of the month. Also, new Patreon news. We do have a brand new Patreon supporter we got to give some mad shouts outs to. Big thanks to Johnny W. for signing up and showing us some love on the Patreon. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. And as is tradition around these parts, we owe Johnny the straight chilling salute. This one's for you.
Danielle, feel free to participate or not. Your call. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I listen to your guys' podcast, I'm in the shower, and every time you guys do the slap my, I just scream it in the shower, and I'm sure, I'm sure my husband's like, "Excuse me."
That is heartwarming on a level of a Hallmark commercial to me. I love that.
That's
Merry
the-
Christmas.
so much.
It's the only way to shower, really.
The fact that I could positively influence your people's showers in such a way is just so lovely.
It's great. It's fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks Johnny for showing some love. Also, we opened up the You Pick the Flick tier on Patreon today.
Yeah, we did.
We opened it up at a random time, which is something we've never done before, just to try and even the playing field a little bit, because they tend to go so quickly. Instead of going in less than a minute this time, I think they all went in about like 12 minutes. So it helped a little bit.
Yeah, but really stretched that out.
Yeah, but congratulations to Thomas P., Hydraberg, Nicole H., Miles B., and Luke K. for securing your spots in the first quarter of the You Pick the Flick tier of 2021. Just make sure you get your movie picks into us within the next couple weeks, before the new year starts, and then we'll go ahead and start laying into your selections. I think that's all we got as far as Patreon goes. The only other thing I have to mention here real quick is counting down to episode number 300. We have been flashing back to classic episodes of Straight Chilling. This week we're going to be flashing back to a classic Christmas-themed episode of Straight Chilling.
Oh.
It's episode number 139, which is Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2.
Ooh, where that particular film features?
No.
The Warm Side of the Door, the greatest Christmas song ever to be featured alongside people getting murdered.
I agree. 100%.
God, I love that song. It's so bad.
It's always Christmas on the warm side of the door.
It's,
Always.
there's always people that love you and want to kiss you and hug you.
Yep.
It's almost like there's an orgy on the other side of that door.
That's why it's so warm.
It's so damn warm.
It's
so
steamy is what it is. Sultry.
Just an insane amount of friction. That's why. That's really
It's
why.
either the cause of the warmth or the effect.
It's well, no.
Okay.
This could go in so many terrible directions. I'm just going to call it now.
Yeah, it's probably smart. If you want to get in the Christmas spirit, listen to a funny old episode of Straight Chilling. Check out 139, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. That's all I've got as far as housekeeping is concerned. Randy, do you have anything you want to mention?
No. Happy Hanukkah, late.
Right.
And Merry Christmas, early. That's all I got.
All right. Well then, let's go ahead and get into the main event. We're talking about anything for Jackson, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
All right. So this is a new release. Just hit Shudder, I think a week ago. It was directed by Justin G. Dick. It was written by Keith Cooper. Stars Sheila McCarthy, Julian Richings, Constantina Montelos. Sorry about that one. Some other people. The plot synopsis is as follows. A bereaved Satanist couple kidnap a pregnant woman so they can use an ancient spellbook to put their dead grandson's spirit into her unborn child.
No.
Yes.
Bob, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Bob, no.
Yes.
You're nailing it, Rob. Don't listen to the haters. You're
Killing
nailing
it. Definitely killing it. I'm sure you guys hadn't seen this before because it only played a couple festivals, but until it hit Shudder, it was really hard to find. But would you recommend people check this movie out, Randy?
Ooh, good question. I suppose, it's a pretty light year for new movies, and I think that in the realm of recent horror to view, I think you could do a lot worse than this. I wouldn't push it really hard on anybody, though. It would have to be probably brought up by somebody else and be like, oh yeah, that's worth a watch. I wouldn't organically be like, you got to check this movie out. That's where I'm at.
All right. Cool. Danielle, what about you?
Yeah, I actually agree. Since there's no movies, I would be like, yeah, sure, watch it. But the reason I watched it the first time, or started to watch it before you guys asked me to come on here, is because someone on Twitter shared a GIF of it or something and said best movie of 2020. And I was like, okay. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, okay. But it's fine.
Twitter should be illegal.
Yeah. But anything that's on Shudder, if people are like, should I watch it? It's like, well, if you have Shudder, just do it,
Yeah, really. You're paying the $5.
Yeah.
You might as well do it. Bob, how about you? What do you think about viewing this film? Required, not required?
I would not use the word required, but I think I'm a little bit hotter on this than what y'all seem to be.
I think you're a little hotter in general, buddy.
Maybe so, yeah. I like this movie quite a bit, actually. It's one of the better movies, one of the better like Shudder exclusives that I've seen on Shudder this year. I feel like it's got a lot of really solid scares, and it's also got like a healthy chunk of comedy like injected into it, which is definitely my brand. I like a lot of comedy with my horror. It's got that going for it. It's definitely like familiar, you know. It's not like reinventing the wheel in any way, but I like what it's playing with. I like the imagery. So yeah, I would say check it out. That sounds like a moderate recommend from the Straight Chilling crew, you know?
Yeah, real moderate, extra moderate.
Check it out. Why not?
If you got time. If you got time.
All right. Well, let's drop that spoiler warning, and we're going to go ahead and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
You've been warned. All right. I got a plot synopsis. It's fairly short. This movie's kind of straightforward. It's not. There's not a whole lot going on.
If the words start moving on you, it's all right to sway with them. Okay? Just try and keep up.
I'll remember that. All right. Reading. Here we go. An affluent elderly couple, Audrey and Henry Walsh, abduct a young, expectant mother, Shannon Becker, with the intention of inviting the spirit of their deceased grandson to inhabit the unborn child so they can be with their grandson once again once the child's born. Audrey and Henry join a satanic cult after the unexpected death of their daughter and grandson. They eventually acquire an ancient book of spells and begin practicing. They accidentally open a portal to purgatory when attempting to get their grandson to enter Shannon's unborn baby, which then allows spirits to enter their home, leading to many scares and several unexpected suicides. One of the suicides involves a detective that is investigating the disappearance of Shannon. Another member of the satanic cult, named Ian, learns the Walshes have acquired this ancient book of spells and informs them that they only completed half the ritual. He offers his assistance, however, he plans to get Satan to be born instead of the Walshes' grandson. Audrey gets stabbed by Ian, and then the devil rises out of Henry's body. Ian then gets taken away and murdered by one of the spirits. Shannon eventually escapes. She has to run throughout this house of horrors, and she steals the car. She hauls some ass, and as she's escaping, she sees like this demon creature crossing the road, and then she feels her baby move inside of her stomach, and she kind of looks down uneasily, wondering what is actually inside of her. Sort of a short synopsis there.
Well done, Rob.
Hey, thanks.
Did the room spin, or was it just
No?
Everything cool? All right, cool.
It's all good.
Yeah, when they say the movie like that, it sounds pretty badass.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
So
when you put it that way,
it sounds badass. So how did you perceive the movie in a way that it would not be badass then?
That sounds confrontational.
I mean, if we're gonna fight about it,
Conversational, not confrontational.
Nothing about the movie storyline and stuff didn't not like it, but some of the characters within the movie I did not like.
Okay.
That's so.
But
should we jump into what they are? Or, okay, all right.
Yeah. I was gonna say we'll be talking about that in a second.
Okay. The movie opens up in sort of like a very mundane sort of way. Like we're kind of thrown into this like elderly couple's day to day. So Henry, he's a doctor. They're fairly well off. They've got a nice house, and they're just like having their morning coffee. And he's like, hey babe, you hemmed my pants unevenly, and one of my legs is a little bit shorter than the other. And then they just like drag this woman into their house and like beat the shit out of her head with a mallet and drag her downstairs. And you're like, what? Like, what is going on?
I loved that. I really liked that opening.
Too.
Yeah.
Because like the record player's playing, and it's just like, okay, so we're having a slow start, and whoa.
Yeah, they go outside and they're like, oh, she's already here? Oh, she's early. And then they little bustle their old asses out. and this is a single shot where you go like from, domestic bliss, bullshit, to a pregnant woman being dragged against her will up into an elevator by the elderly couple in question. That's a pretty strong opener, I think. It really leaves you wanting to find out more. So I thought that was probably one of the stronger moments of the movie in general.
It's a solid opening. I think that dynamic carries throughout the movie because like we recently talked about Rosemary's Baby, and this movie reminded me a lot of that. It's kind of fresh on the brain. And we were talking about how like the satanic cult in Rosemary's Baby is essentially just a bunch of like normal old ass people, and they just happen to worship Satan. And that's very much this couple. Like it's a normal old ass couple, and they lost their daughter and their grandson, and they're just stricken with grief, and they're really like trying to deal with that. And they just happen upon this like satanic cult, and then they get this book, and then they realize they can actually do magic with this book. And they're like, okay, let's try and resurrect our grandson. But outside of that, they're just normal old ass people that have lived like a normal life for 60 plus years or however old they are, and they're fucking up along the way because they don't know anything about being satanic or whatever.
And the movie does a good job of kind of concealing that at first because they like, I don't know, maybe it's just me because I was taking her at her word. But when Audrey is speaking with, what's the name of the mom?
Audrey is the name of the mother. The older woman? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, Audrey. And then Shannon is the woman they abduct.
Shannon is who I'm taking out. Okay. So she's speaking with Shannon, Audrey's speaking with Shannon, and she says, it's not worth it to try and escape because believe me, we've thought of everything. And like just putting out this whole spiel. And I'm like, well, after the movies I've seen this year, I wouldn't doubt it. There seems to be like a running theme. I don't know if it's just this year or just like in general, this is a rising trend of movies about being held captive. I think culturally that might have some deep, horrible roots, but there seems to be like quite a bit of that going on. And in this movie, it's, I was fully expecting it to be the truth because I've seen movies this year already where that is the case, where it's like, there's nothing you can really do to escape. Like you have to, at best, MacGyver your way into a situation that's only slightly less losing. So, but then, it turns out that, they are kind of fucking up in very significant ways. Probably the most, consequential of that being that when they're doing these magic rituals, they don't speak the language that they're reading. They don't have the knowledge base for it. So what they do, or according to their, tweaked out, comb over fucking Satanist buddy from the cult, from the Wiccan meetings, or not Wiccan, I'm sorry, the meetings that they go to, the Satanist meetings. He's like, no, you guys fucked up. This is actually, you're not putting your son in there or your grandson in there necessarily. It's just opening the door for things to get in, which is like the whole thrust of the movie is, okay, so we have all these monsters. It's actually weirdly kind of Insidious, like the Insidious movie where, you have a husk, you have a shell that is now vacant because of this magical ritual. At least that's how I understood it. And so all these different creatures are trying to get their way in there. But there's no guarantee that the thing that you're trying to get into this baby's soul, or what soul you're trying to get into this baby's body, is going to be the one that you're hoping for.
Yeah. They opened up the further, and then, they've got this boy's hole, and whatever crawls into the boy's hole is, first come, first serve, really.
It's my boy Dick.
Yeah, totally. So the movie kind of like starts, and then we've got this like little boy that's hanging out in Shannon's room. Like, she's handcuffed to the bed. She can't move. And there's this little boy that like shows himself, and you don't realize that is a spirit at first. And then you come to learn as the movie goes that, that's like the grandson that passed away in this tragic car accident. And these,
and they give you the Sixth Sense turnaround. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
In the first act though, that's the real twist.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I was confused about that whenever they tied her up and she immediately could see him. I'm like, why couldn't she see him? I guessed maybe he's just a ghost, and they're like, oh, you can see him? Because like
they were psyched.
They couldn't see the rest of them until they invited him in, but then she could see it. I was confused.
I took that to be like Jackson would present himself to his grandparents as, manifest as a ghost in his playroom or whatever, potentially. But the fact that he manifested for this woman who is just tied up there, they took it as a good sign that he, I don't know if he understood what was going on, or if it was just that he was ingratiated to this person, which would make the process of putting him in her baby's body easier.
Right.
don't know. They leave a lot of like interpretation open for that sort of thing. The lore is loose enough to get away with pretty much anything.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But that's how I read it.
Yeah, it's open for interpretation for sure. Once they like try and do that first ritual and there's like this huge demon thing, it almost looks like it's got like a plague mask on or something. It like pops up and it scares the shit out of Audrey, and then it goes away, and then they just like decide to believe that Jackson's spirit is now inhabiting the unborn child, even though they don't really have any proof of that. But ever since like that scene happens, like these other spirits show up and like scare the shit out of Henry, Audrey, and Shannon. And like, I really like how they portray these spirits. Like I
do too.
They scared the shit out of me like a couple of times actually, which
really,
I liked all of them.
Yeah, like the there's like the ghost that is dressed up as a ghost, which I thought was pretty
dressed
dope.
up as their daughter.
Trick or treating
as a child,
for Halloween.
I mean, at least theoretically, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was that supposed to be their daughter? I don't think it was.
Yeah, no,
it was.
It was supposed to be their daughter.
Yeah, she said it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And like it kind of keeps ringing the bell, keeps saying trick or treat, and then eventually it like comes through the door and grows and becomes like absolutely massive. And
I liked that.
It says it keeps saying trick or treat, but like the voice gets lower and lower as it grows.
Yeah.
It's like really effective and simple and scary as shit. I don't know. I really, really like that. Also like that bag head dude that like terrorizes
the contortionist guy.
Oh yeah.
The way
that contortionist,
moves,
yeah.
Fucking terrifying.
I thought they were pretty
he's
effective.
Gross. Yeah.
But to me, like probably the one that stood out the most, like the thing is like this movie, it has several like pretty good ghosts in the mix or whatever. But the only one that I can say that really like stood out to me was the one of the dental hygienist ghost who is flossing herself away.
Oh my God, I forgot about her. She was my favorite. Absolutely.
She was my favorite. Like she looks cool for starters, but also there's something almost relatable about the feeling of over flossing and feeling like you're ripping your face off as it hurts.
Also, I will never like not like the Bedfellows kind of thing. Have you guys seen the short film Bedfellows?
I haven't.
No.
Where he is talking to his wife and he thinks she's right there, but then she calls him.
I have seen this.
And like he realizes that that's not his wife, obviously, but that scenario will never not get scary to me because I would shit my pants like immediately if you thought you were talking to a person that you know and then they call you and you're like, okay, I can't, who am I talking to? Ugh.
Yeah.
But that part was really good. I forgot about that part.
I really like that part. And I will say this. I want to talk about like there were some characters, Danielle, that you mentioned that you felt not so strongly about.
It was Ian. It was Ian.
Oh, it was Ian?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm outing him. I can't, dude. Every time he was on the screen, I felt like I was just in a 4chan forum talking to some little shit. Like the way he was talking, I'm like, bro, these kids are kids. These people are like 80 years old. Cut them some slack. And they bought this book with their retirement fund and you get to use it. Like, be nice. He's just like that, like, I don't know, fedora guy that's like, I know Satanism more than you.
He's like the
shut up.
He's the
He's like the-
fedora guy.
he's the ultimate conclusion to the question. It's like if you max out somebody's power levels of being an edgelord and that's it.
Yes, that's it.
Like he screams at his mom and then murders her, we find out.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers screaming at his mom to make lasagna.
The meatloaf.
The meatloaf, that's what it was.
We want it now.
Like, yeah, because his mom's just like, I'll leave you some dinner in the oven. He's like, I'm not fucking hungry. With his comb over ass. Oh man,
Oh
his
my God,
Trump
his hair
hair
is
is
combed
so
over.
disgusting.
Just combed over from the back. I'm like, just stop.
At first, I thought it was like 2006 era emo hair or something, but I was like, no, this is not working. And then at the end, it was like when it comes loose, it's like, oh yeah, of course that's what's happening.
Yeah. Also, side note, I thought about this while watching that part where he's yelling at his mom. How I watch a lot of Law and Order SVU. Don't make fun of me. How do people have children like that who live in a boarded up basement and act like he does and not know that they're crazy. Like they're going to kill people. Like that's it. They're going to kill people. What else?
Man.
How can you be like, he's a sweet boy? What?
I don't know. In the world of Ted Bundy's, he really is just kind of leaning right into the murderer vibe.
Yeah. Not even trying to cover it up.
No. You know, I love that the Satanists, like the leader of the Satanists or whatever, gives him shit for eating the hors d'oeuvres at their meeting beforehand. And then later is like, I don't even believe this shit. And is like panicking because the dude, wigged out or whatever. And she calls Henry and is like, you need to be careful with this guy. He's fucked up, whatever. And she's like, I don't even believe in this shit. This guy's nuts. Like,
yeah.
It's just so perfect, such a perfect dissolution of, what is, and not always, I don't want to be like shitty to people who believe what they believe, but like there's definitely some people out there who are just in it for the reflected clout of edgelordiness that the edginess that comes along with that sort of like worship and so forth, that sort of participation.
Yeah. So, I also really liked when Shannon said like, Jesus or like Jesus Christ or something like that. And Audrey's like, we don't say his name in my house. I'm like, oh shit.
I love that. Like, we don't use that name here.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was trying, like that was pretty early on. I was still trying to get the lay of the land there. I don't know. Like they did a good job with this the first part of the movie. I would say that was the strongest part to me because of the way they were like cutting off any hope that, Shannon had of escaping, like when she like thinks she gets one over on them and grabs her phone and tries to use that to call for help, and they use the nanny cam to stop her from doing that and get into her phone, and
part of the plan.
Then set up a Tinder date so that she looks suspicious.
I also really liked how they Audrey was like, DTF, what does that mean? And she's like, what would that mean? Down to, and I'm like, there's no way if you didn't know what DTF was that you would just figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Like 80.
5 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's just gross. I love that though. Like as a jokey line, that is really, really funny because this is kind of like that Rosemary's Baby thing, like we were talking about on that episode. Just because you worship Satan doesn't mean you're not an idiot or a doddering old lady, or it doesn't mean you're not like, also going home and watching Real Housewives of Atlanta or some shit. Like you can be a total normie on your day off. It's just on, Sundays or whatever. You go into the church and you eat a rat or whatever.
Exactly.
You go into the public library's back room and then you have a little sit down with your Satanist friends and do a seance.
Oh yeah.
Doctor by day, Satanist by night.
Yep. Dr. Satanist.
Ooh. I also like how Shannon played into that too, of them being like, she could tell that Audrey was still like a caring old lady. Like after they did everything, she's like, hey Audrey, like I'm really hungry. And Audrey immediately stands up and is like, I'll make you something. Cause she's like, I have to be that hostess, like caring for you.
And it's like that same thing as like, just because I don't know, because you have some pretty repugnant beliefs doesn't mean you can't be cordial to people, so that's how people hide that shit. But just as often, and in this case, they're really kind of masquerading and hiding their morality in order to achieve what they want. You know what I mean? Like Henry makes a point of saying like, you won't win a moral argument with me. I want to do this because my wife wants to do this because she wants her grandson back. And it's like, that is a moral system of some kind. It's not, it's Machiavellian, but it is like you're operating under a certain set of scruples that you recognize as being repugnant and horrible. And you obviously never attempted anything like it until you had the emotional weight thrusted behind it. Yeah. Like it's an emotional reaction. It's not a moral reaction, but that doesn't mean you don't have those morals. You're just choosing to ignore them.
Also, about halfway through this movie, I realized Henry was one of the inbred people in Wrong Turn. I couldn't not see it. Yeah, I couldn't not see it after that.
I was going to say earlier, like his performance and Audrey's performance, like the three principal cast members, I would say, I think they all did pretty damn well. None of them, I would say, like, I can't think of a few, like very many moments where I was like blown away or anything like that. Like they didn't reinvent the wheel, like Rob said, but I thought they did really, really capable job and believable job with what they had. towing that line between, sweet old lady and murderous Satanist is, it's a tough line to draw. You did it. You did it.
Yeah, Ian was obviously like my least favorite, but my favorite side character was definitely the snowblowing guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was just one of a kind, dude. Just like that one guy in the movie where you're like, you don't want them to kill Shannon, obviously, but at the same time, you're like, dude, could you just go away so they can do this? I don't know. It's such a weird, conflicting feeling because you don't want him to get caught, but at the same time, you don't want him to kill her. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, yeah. You're put in their shoes and you're like, okay, so like, I don't want this girl to die, but I am problem solving for these people because I'm in their shoes.
Yeah. Also, his death was cool.
It's great.
Yeah. Dude, that was probably the most impactful like death in the movie for me because like it comes so out of nowhere. And the thing is, like, you find out later by seeing the police detective do something similar that it's something is taking control of these people. And I mean, it's kind of clear that that's what happens to him, but at the same time, like, he's acting pretty goddamn manic to begin with. So on one level, I'm like, so what is this guy like actually been a demon the whole time? Has he like been staking this place out for some like cult watch or some shit? I don't know what's going on with this guy, but he just decided to throw himself into a fucking snowblower. So
yeah,
I don't know what to think about this dude. And it was just so jarring, just like for him to go from being like completely emotionally rattled, newly divorced dude trying to make ends meet and trying to be the nice guy and trying not to like let his emotions get the better of him and just barely keeping it together to just being like full on, like speaking to things that he shouldn't know about Jackson specifically.
Yeah.
And just being like, yep, you did a good job, guys. Jackson's in there. See you later. And hurls himself into a chipper.
Yeah. Also, there are houses everywhere out there. I was like, dude,
I know.
how is no one seeing this?
Yes, I agree. That was some of the least believable part of it is like, and then like later on, they're like putting rats out everywhere. Like somebody's going to notice something going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that
Also,
blood
where
on the
do you-
snow. Someone's going to see that. It's going to take a while to clear that up.
An elderly man has at that point dismembered a body, put it in his truck, and driven it to the woods to bury it. You're in a residential neighborhood, buddy. I don't see that happening.
Can we also
without
talk
somebody
about
taking
how he
notice.
just buried it in the snow?
I know.
Dude, that's going to melt.
Yeah.
It was stressing me out so bad.
See, that didn't bother me so much, and it was primarily because they had already at that point been like, well, we just need to get through, her due date, basically, which is in 3 days or whatever.
The ground is frozen, so we can only dig so deep,
Yeah, and apparently they were going to go to Mexico, so it's like, and burn the house down. So like, they just needed a temporary solution. They didn't need a permanent one for that guy.
Yeah.
I like how it didn't stop at just like the hauntings, like seeing the spirits, but like it crossed a line there where we start seeing like real people, basically anybody that sort of like threatened the success of like Audrey and Henry, like just kill themselves. Like they get possessed by a spirit and kill themselves, basically.
Yeah, I was. Sorry, go ahead.
I was except for Ian, who just gets like murdered by one of the spirits, but both of those like suicides came as such a surprise to me. Like the detective is there. She has basically busted them. She's like in the middle of like making an arrest, and then she's like, oh wait, let me do this one thing real quick, and then just blows her brains out. Like did not see that coming at all.
And the best part of that is the multiple times where she does it over and over again.
Over and over.
And they're just like, she just keeps doing that. Like, I don't know. There's something really funny about that.
Yeah, they just don't even flinch after like a while to the gunshot. They're just like, would you shut up?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I said earlier, they really leave a lot of the lore interpretable. So, I think the breadcrumbs that are there can leave you to somewhat of a conclusive understanding of what's going on. It just kind of stops short of things like, okay, so what's possessing these people? Or, what makes them susceptible to possession, but not Henry and Audrey, not Ian, you know what I mean? Things like that, or even the mom. Like, I don't know. At the end of the day, both people in the elderly couple get killed and then have but demons burst out of them like chest bursting motherfuckers. But but the mom can just kind of like get away. And I read this review that somebody said, well, it's pretty clear that the mom got away and that the baby's totally fine because you can see that she sees the monster and knows that it's not in her. And I'm like, I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, me either.
No, it wouldn't let her just leave. That's got a point to like it being a demon baby.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Everybody's getting possessed at that point or killed. So like, why would she just get away totally fine?
My read of that was her like realizing, oh shit, I'm still a target. It doesn't matter if I'm out of that house. The door's still open. We didn't close that barn door. And now, fucking Beelzebub and everybody else is trying to get this baby.
And then she drives away from the house, but she sees the whatever climbed out of Henry walk in front of her. So I feel like that's just like a nod to like, wherever you go, I'll be here waiting for this.
Because it looks back at her.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for my out baby. There. Yeah, there's clearly things out there that are paying attention to you still. It doesn't matter that you got in a 4x4 and drove away or whatever. Like, I don't know. But the fact that somebody else can interpret it so widely from what I did, so differently than I did, is I think certainly intentional, like that you can have that sort of thing. And, I'm usually on board with that sort of thing. And I am for the most part here, but it is a little frustrating because those sort of bare facts of the story are kind of, to me, like, I feel like I don't understand the underlying like themes or underlying message that's going on in this movie. Usually try and like see like, okay, so what fears is this movie playing on? And I don't know exactly what this is besides, grief. Like it's just grief. Like, but like there's no like the parallels seem really loose to me is I guess the problem for me, where like you have all this like that's a rich field to play with, and it really just kind of like tells you that that's the case outright in expository dialogue.
Yeah. For the most part. I mean, we see some pretty horrific stuff like in flashbacks where Audrey and Henry's daughter dies in a car accident. We don't like really see the car accident happen. Or I'm sorry, the grandson dies in a car accident. She actually doesn't die. She ends up becoming like a quadriplegic, I guess. She's bound to a wheelchair and she's living with them for a while. And then she like eventually decides to throw herself down some stairs, commit suicide somehow.
The elevator shaft,
yeah. And like it's a pretty gruesome sequence like when they show that. It's super dark. And they even allude to like wanting to bring her back too, but saying like they don't think they can because of how she died. It was sort of by her own hand. So I mean, this is just a couple that is like so stricken with grief they're willing to try anything at all to bring their loved ones back to life, which
I guess that's true. It just feels like and the thing is like just from the title, that's obvious. I guess to me, it just felt like, okay, so I don't know. Modern horror movies tend to have like at least a couple layers of something like, at least, I don't know. That's not necessarily true, but it just feels like that seems to be the thrust of major releases of horror movies. And that's not what I really felt like I got here. I felt like it was that surface level motivation, and then that kind of was it. And the rest is just sort of like things happening. Does that make sense?
yeah, I get that. There's not like some sort of giant metaphor at play here. It's just it's sort of like a It's like a normal horror movie where they might have a seance to try to contact someone that has passed, a loved one that has passed, but then add to that like an exorcism sequence where they're like trying to get a spirit to enter a body instead of to leave a body. It's like kind of combining the two sort of subgenres in a way. So it's like a lot I can see them like that we've seen before, but just sort of happening in one movie, I guess.
They're definitely like playing scientists and tinkering with genres and subgenres and that's all appreciated and all good. It just like for that main thrust, I'm like, okay, but is there something like that I feel like there should be a bottom falling out somewhere where somebody makes a realization that they fucked up or that, grief is X. It's like there's no Alexander Supertramp moment of, oh, I'm supposed to spend my time with people. Oh, like there's no, like there's not, that moment doesn't really happen. I guess maybe I was just let down by that because it's not the movies, not every movie has to do that. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm asking for more than the movie's willing to give. It's just kind of, I wanted more from it.
Whenever you said like there was the grief motivation, then everything else was just random scary things. Like, I think that's what I felt that I didn't like about it was, okay, they went with her trick-or-treating as a ghost because the daughter always liked to be a ghost for Halloween. And so that's like memories haunting her. But then the guy in the bag, the contortionist guy, and the like plague doctor looking guy, they were just scary things. So like, if they would have just went with just scary things, like scaring them, that would have been cool. Or just haunting memories. Like maybe if they did her trick-or-treating and like her falling down the elevator shaft like over and over again, or like that haunting them visibly. Like I didn't understand where those connected. And then she had to run through all of them. And I'm like, I don't really get it, because they were haunting the kid trick-or-treating was haunting Audrey, but then the contortionist guy was haunting Shannon, but then Shannon had to run through all of it. And so I'm like, I don't really get it. Like, I don't really get why those, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the ghosts are kind of just like, and the thing is, there's a certain kind of movie that can support the idea of like a house of random horrors versus a house of thematically appropriate horrors. You know what I mean? There's Night of the Demons, and then there's Haunting on Hill House. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like either you go full blast, or like just demons even is a better one. It's just like things are happening and you like lean into it, and it's like goofy and nonsense, but it's fun. And that's not what this movie does, but it also doesn't lean full blast into everything being so purposeful. Yeah. It's like it doesn't quite pick a lane, I don't think.
Yeah. This reminds me a lot of Terrified too, which is another Shudder exclusive we talked about recently, where it's like half of it makes a lot of sense and half of it just kind of doesn't, and they're just kind of throwing creepy things that might stick at the wall, you know, which there's nothing totally wrong with that. It doesn't have to be like super airtight. They even mentioned like, you know, they open a portal to purgatory and like all the demons are coming through and they're all just trying to possess somebody. So it's like a grab bag in a way. You know, it's an easy way to write all this stuff off, I guess.
It feels like there's a like it's a directorial style choice where it's like some directors are going for those heightened moments that people are going to remember above all else. Like in Terrified, you can think of a few Terrifier, excuse me, or even Terrified. Yeah. But like you can think of a few from, you know, Night of the Demons or whatever else. But then there's also directors who are going for an overall like sense of dread that's more nebulous than that. That's not really about moments. It's more about the package as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty rare movie that can do both of those things really well. This movie, I think, doesn't quite do either that well. It kind of middles on all of it, which is like, again, just another way of saying what I was saying before, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. All that said, though, like there is some fucking cool shit in this movie. Those monsters, like just as a creature feature, sort of like, you know, like the Return of the Jedi monster situation of just like crazy shit's in here. What's going on? I liked that. And I kind of wish it was more of that. A lot of people describe this movie, from what I saw, as being pretty like dark comedy-ish, but I didn't get enough comedy to really feel that way.
Yeah, no.
At least nothing that felt, not a lot that felt so intentional as to be like, oh, okay, that's what they're going. They're going for. They're not going. This isn't it like Shaun of the Dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like the first act, the setup, you get a lot of comedy, and then it sort of falls away pretty quickly when the ghosts start showing up. It's not really funny after that, though.
Again, it's a lane picking issue, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I really did laugh a lot in that first act, though, and I enjoyed that. I kind of wish it carried throughout, and I feel like there's a lot more they could have done with like the whole like satanic group, because like there's a lot of you know, big personalities within that, and like you've got these two old biddies that are joining. I just feel like there's more like interpersonal kind of goofiness they could have played on in there, because like we don't really get a whole lot of exposure to everybody else in that group. You know, they've got the one initial meeting and Ian's like slamming donuts and the girl's like, hey, you know, wait till after the fucking seance, dude, or whatever. And that's like kind of the joke we get. we don't really
Yeah.
see a whole lot more of them. They could have done more with that, I think, which would have been
They
fun.
could have. I kind of disagree, though. I feel like it would have bloated things out. I mean,
Yeah.
they could have done more comedy with them for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the movie as a whole started leaning that direction, I'd be total agreement. But as it is, like if they're trying to bridge the gap, then I don't think that's necessarily going to do them any favors. I don't know exactly. I don't have a quick fix script doctor idea for how to fix the issues that I'm seeing, except to just be like, okay, some movies can straddle things really well. This movie straddles things in a way that's noticeable and doesn't blend as well as you'd hope. It's like a smoothie of two flavors that don't quite work,
Like orange juice and toothpaste.
Well, okay, that's a hellish nightmare flavor. That's a different story altogether.
I'd drink it.
Ugh.
Must be stopped at every opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, I kind of am circling the drain on what I'm already thinking about my rating. So do we want to jump into that?
Yeah, I think we probably covered the majority of the movie. Danielle, do you have any other points you want to touch on before we end up rating this thing?
I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do it. Out of 5, Randy, why don't you kick us off here? How you feel?
Oh, you sure?
Yeah.
You sure? Usually you make me go last.
I know.
Because I'm do a horrible crime of making you consider using an eraser.
I'm gonna place my trust in you, and I desperately want to know what you're rating anything for Miss Jackson.
It's a 3. No, that's not a real rating.
The trust is gone.
I'm just fucking with you.
Wow.
No, I actually think that was just trying to do a bit that didn't land. But I think genuinely probably this movie is around a 2.5. To me, it's like middling. I don't hate it. And I just think that the more I think about it, the more it almost, I feel like in a week, I'm not going to remember that much about this movie. You know what I mean? And which, I don't have a good memory to begin with. So, that's on me to some extent, but I think it's on the movie as well because it didn't quite lean in one direction. I think that's really going to end up being the crux of my argument is I think this movie had a lot of cool ideas, a few cool moments, some capable acting, some pretty good shots, I would say, like visually, I thought it did really well. Just story-wise, it kind of felt like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. If it wanted to be dark comedy, if it wanted to be a true meditation on grief, if it wanted to be, something else entirely, it kind of tries to do it all. And I don't think it had the chops to really nail all of it. So for me, I think a 2.5, it's, I would say it's worth watching if you got an afternoon, got an evening, but it's not one that I would particularly express to people that people need to see. Now, that said, it may end up on my top 10 of this year because it's such a light year.
Yeah.
So, it's got stuff going for it. It's just not quite, I don't know. I think the beginning the beginning of the movie sort of made some promises that I didn't feel it kept up by the end, that it didn't pay out on the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Danielle, how you feel out of 5?
I agree with everything you said, but I am going to give it a 3 out of 5, just a little bit higher because throughout the movie, there are some movies where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to get on my phone. And that movie, it kept my attention. I did kind of pick it apart, like you said, it, like I was confused on where it was trying to go with the demons and the haunted memories and stuff, but really, once it ended, I was just kind of like, okay, like that was a movie. I wouldn't watch it again. Probably I've seen it once. That's enough, but it kept my attention. So I would say 3 out of 5.
All right.
Sweet deal.
Bob,
Yo.
what you got?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I like this movie more than I think both of you guys did, honestly. The setup I thought was really funny and somewhat endearing, and especially like the more you learn about this elderly couple, I anyway sort of like empathize with them in a way, like they just fucking miss their grandson. Like, I get it. They're not evil. They're just trying to do whatever they can do to bring their grandson back.
Well,
and yeah, you know
Rob,
what I mean. You know what I mean.
Time to give up on that law degree, Bob.
Yeah, well, never did pursue it. the scares really land, they stick with me. There's a lot of like legitimately scary moments in this movie. The giant ghost, the contortionist person, the dude sticking his head in the snowblower, the detective like blowing her brains out. Like there's a lot of moments that they stick out in my head very clearly that are like very haunting. The woman flossing, like shit. That's more than most scary movies have that we've talked about this year, like new releases anyways. There's a lot that's going to stick with me from this movie. And, the comedy does sort of wane towards the end, and the ending might not be like airtight. It's sort of open for interpretation. And normally, like, that's something that I would really enjoy. But in the way this particular movie ends, I kind of wish we had something a little bit more finite. Like, something's going on with her baby. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a normal baby. But it just sort of ends at that point, which is a bit of a letdown, I think, because the movie up until the very end feels fairly solid, and they're just like, and that's it.
I'm really interested in that point because, like, I agree, and I think that to me, I keep thinking about that, and I'm wondering like what it takes for an ending, a nebulous ending, to work. And I think it has to be consistency in other places, like tone specifically. I think that this movie is lacking the consistent tone to support an ending where you extrapolate your own ending. I don't know if that makes sense. Like to me, like I feel like a David Lynch movie, you know what tone it's going for, and then when it ends like on an totally interpretable note, you still have a feeling that you're being led by. You know what I mean? In this movie, I don't know that I got a consistent feeling enough from it to really understand what it's going for with its ambiguity at the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know that I agree with that point. I feel like the tone is fairly consistent. I feel like the writing could have been tighter at the end. Like the tone isn't what's throwing me off, really, personally. Okay. But I get what you're saying. I get where you're going with it. The ending could be tighter, regardless. However you want to describe that, I think it could just be tighter. However, I'm going to give this a 3.5. That's going to put our aggregate at a 3 even. So let's go ahead and jump into our.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
Rotten Tomatoes time, baby.
Yeah, we're coming with you. We're coming with you.
Certified fresh to death.
All right. So, welcome to the Rotten Tomatoes segment. In this segment, what happens for those who are new to this podcast is I am going to give these two lovely hosts the opportunity to guess between 0 and 100% what the aggregate score of positive reviews are for the film Anything for Jackson, as rated on RottenTomatoes.com. No R required. Yeah. I guess there's just the one R. Anyway, not important. So let's start with the critic score. There are only 51 critic scores for this, but I think that their threshold is 50 for making it certified one way or the other. I'm not sure, but in any case, that's not nothing. So we got a little bit to go on here. Bob, I'm going to start with you on this first one. What do you think that the critics gave this film aggregate-wise?
Anything for Miss Jackson probably received a solid 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
70%. I cannot believe you skipped the comedy number with a 70%.
I feel like it's a little bit higher.
Oh my God.
I apologize a trillion times.
Dudes.
All right, Danielle, what about you? What do you think the critics gave this film overall?
I'm going to do a little lower.
Okay.
Do a 58%.
58%. Well, nobody got a ringy dingy. Bob is going to take the win on this one, but only by de facto, because he is about, let's see, almost 30 points off. 98% fresh.
Oh.
98%. I am baffled by this.
Yeah. No. What?
98.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, but
so out of these,
sorry, I feel like the fact that everyone's quarantined and you can't watch movies in the theater and it's 2020, I think that has an effect on critics. They're just
Maybe.
like, God, give me a movie. It's 98. I love it.
Maybe that could be. Maybe there's some like weird effect where critics are going to just start being real nice for a year.
Man, that's going to be.
That is so funny.
We'll see.
So yeah, there's 51 reviews, which means that there is a maximum of 2 negative reviews on this, I believe, out of those 51. That's kind of insane to me.
That is insane.
Let's see what the critics' consensus has to say. It says, a talented cast and fiendishly frightening premise combined to make anything for Jackson a must-watch for fans of supernatural horror. I don't think I disagree with anything except for the phrase must-watch on that.
Yeah, like I would recommend a watch, but you don't have to. Like,
Yeah.
you'd be fine.
I guess,
You can
well,
watch
it's
this.
saying for fans of supernatural horror. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, but that's not my number one. If I was like Ride or Die, Insidious, Conjuring, Rosemary's Baby, motherfucker, then maybe this is my jam.
Rosemary's Baby, motherfucker.
But come on, that's Rosemary's Baby.
RMBMF.
That's so that's just a really roundabout way of saying fucking Rosemary, isn't it? I don't know.
A little bit. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the user score after that embarrassing aside. All right, Danielle, we'll start with you this time. What do you think the audience in general gave this? And bear in mind, there are only 33 user ratings for this, so factor in.
Okay, so now that it's 98%, now I'm like, where the hell do I go? Audience. I'm going to do higher. I'm going to do a solid 82.
82. All right. Bob, what are you feeling on this?
I feel like the audience is really going to like recognize that the grandchild is a baby and not a paycheck. So it's going to come in lower. This movie really doesn't portray that. I'm going to,
They got medical bills. I pay that.
yeah, right. Give me a 50, please. Right down the middle.
50. All right. Bob is not gonna sweep the board today. Danielle, you're gonna take that one. You're about 8 off, I think, if I'm doing math correctly, which I'm probably not. It's a 76% positive. So this is an interesting case in terms of Rotten Tomatoes. The critics are universally almost loving this thing, but the audience is just kind of lukewarm on it. Like mostly positive, but like kind of lukewarm on it.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird one. For a horror movie, that's pretty unusual.
Yeah, it is.
I feel like Shudder's greasing some palms over here. That's all. That's all I consider.
Greasing something.
Yeah,
Ew.
yeah. What's going on?
It's my boy Dick.
We gotta get rid of that bump. It's
Nope.
unflattering.
That was the
All right, Rob,
fastest nope I've ever seen.
This podcast is not flattering. Are you kidding? All right. As I always do, I'm going to read a random negative review, which is not that random because it's the only one, and see if there's some funny to it. Here's the negative review. It doesn't really know how to end, which may leave its audience with more questions than answers. That's not funny at all.
Oh, boo.
Come on,
Did you
what's
write that?
Boo.
You wrote that.
I didn't write that. I would be much, much more crass than that. Come on.
True.
Movie's bullshit.
It would say it's my boy Dick. That's the whole review.
It's my point. That's my review of this film.
Copy paste over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, la-dee-da.
All right. That's it for Rotten Tomatoes. Bob,
Yo,
giving it back to you.
Sweet. It's time for some trivia.
Ooh.
It's totally time for trivia.
Actually, I'm going to take it right back from you.
Yep.
Juice is out today, so I did the bare minimum of looking for trivia, and I found a little bit that I thought was worth mentioning. Let's go down the list here. There's only a few things. Let's see. So among the Latin phrases being used in this ancient book, supposedly the oldest book in the world, according to the movie, they use a Latin phrase, which I'm going to fuck up. Tibi gratias ago tibi kia propinqua est quaridis. Yep, perfect.
Good job. Proud of you.
God, I fucking nailed that shit.
Proud of you.
You just
Which
summoned
translates
something.
to "Thank you for looking so closely."
Oh.
It translates to me and Yo Dada got this thing going on. Special kind of thing going on. You say it's puppy love. We say it's full
come on,
grown.
Rob.
There you go. That's what it translates to. Sorry.
Forever?
Forever.
All right. Next up.
With this conversation, I changed my rating to a 5.
Yes.
If this movie was written by Andre 3000 and Big Boy, I think we'd be on a whole different level. That 98% would make perfect sense.
Yep.
I am for real.
You were a real son of a bitch tonight. I love it. All right, let's take a look. So the director wanted to hide at least 3 hidden ghost scenes within the movie. As of yet, no one has found and pointed them out. Now, I want to point this out. That's bullshit. I swear, maybe nobody's pointed them out, but I caught at least 2 of those things.
Did you? What was it?
Like there's just like figures in the background. Sort of. It's Haunting on Hill House level stuff, but maybe not as capably hidden as that. At least from the ones I saw. There's, like I said, at least if there's supposed to be 3, then I found 2/3 of them without trying.
Well, I'm not rewatching this movie. I'm watching the YouTube. Watching a YouTube video on it.
Yeah.
I had that feeling as well. I was like, I saw them. I could definitely go back and comb this movie and be the person who points them out. But A, there's no glory in that. And B, there's no fun in that either. So.
Very true.
I feel like to catch some of that stuff, you really got to watch these in like a pitch black room. I watched this in the middle of the day, and there's definitely some ambient light in my living room. And it kind of like washes out some of the darker corners of the screen sometimes, which really bothers me, but I got to watch this shit when I can, Yeah. So I missed any sort of like real deep hidden ghosts, which is kind of a bummer.
Some of them I watched it during the day as well and had a little diffused light as well. So I had some trouble, but at least one of these hidden creatures was so plainly obvious to me. He was just kind of like set in the background. It was like that Community episode where Abed's delivering a baby in the background, where it's shot in such a way that it's almost obvious that's either somebody fucked up the camera or they're doing something in the background that you need to look at. I don't know. That was my read on it. There's a couple shots where like the lady cop that shot herself in the head so many times. The detective would come back into the room or like open the door or whatever in one shot as they have this sort of wide shot of the room. That happened a couple times, but I don't know if they are considering that a hidden ghost or if that was just part of the story.
Yeah,
I did like that she did it like a few times, and the last time like something drug her away. I kind of like that.
Yeah. But I also like that, like he put what is his name? Ian put down another protective layer of something, dog piss, whatever it was, and
salt. I think it's a shitload of salt.
Well, the salt was already down, and then he put something else on. I was like, "Don't disturb it," and then
he kicks it.
Yeah, and then he kicks it and fucks everything up. Of course,
dumbass.
Yeah, he sucks. Anyway, but then she the next time she walks in, she walks to the not even to the assault to shoot herself like she had so many times before, but just to the doorway and then turns around and walks away in the background. I was like, oh, okay, so it's working like that. I kind of like that. That's the sort of like level of detail that's inconsistently in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just not applied all the way through.
You and Joe Mama.
Well stated.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is my favorite piece of trivia and the last one by de facto. This director, oh man, I got to look up his name now. I forgot to do that.
Justin G. Dyke.
Dyke?
I don't know.
I think so. Isn't it D-Y-K-E?
D-Y-C-K is what I'm looking at.
Okay. Well, Justin, our boy Justin, directed several other films, many of which fall into the sort of hallmarky, lifetimey, Christmassy movies, such as Love by Accident, Christmas in the Rockies, and A Christmas Exchange. And this was his way of trying to break out of that, cycle in some way. And I, first of all, think that's hilarious. Second of all, think that's really admirable and good for this dude. Good for these guys. Cool. It's people are making those movies and it's easy to shit on them because they're for a specific audience that I'm not a part of. But I am a part of the horror genre. And if you can take those same skills and apply them in this way, I think that says a lot about your capabilities. So I want to shout out that.
I, for some reason, really get excited for movies that come out, like when Jordan Peele started doing horror or Chris Rock is doing Spiral or whatever. Like, if someone's doing a different genre and they go to horror, I'm like, okay, I really want to see what they do then, because they have a different eye than, just horror makers.
Definitely. And even our lead actress, Constantina Mentelos, our actress rather, who played Shannon. Some of her other roles include somebody in a movie called A Christmas Crush. You know, it's like, so these are people from like kind of that are at least, you know, related to these very schmaltzy romantic comedy style movies that go on Hallmark and so forth. I don't know, man. There's something really admirable about all of that.
I want to shout this dude out because over the past 3 years, he has directed 6 movies per year. Plus
Holy
TV shit. Like, so, you know, maybe these aren't like the greatest movies ever. I've seen none of them. But most of them seem to be like Christmas related movies, which is, you know, it is what it is. But this dude's out there hustling. And, you know, my hat's off to him. He's working his ass off. You know, if you want to watch some goofy ass Christmas movies, this dude's directed like, I don't know, 18 of them. So take your pick.
Witch's Ball.
It's pretty insane, man.
Yeah, man. There's a lot. Baby in a Manger, Christmas in Paris, Christmas with a Prince. Well, it's like every like interchangeable Christmas movie you see at the bottom of the holiday section in Hulu and on Netflix. This guy's involved there, man. He's getting his paycheck from it. And he's also very capable of making at least a like pretty engaging horror movie, one of the best of the year. Yeah. Even in a light year, that's impressive as fuck.
He also directed a very country Christmas, 48 Christmas Wishes, Christmas Wedding Planner, Hometown Holiday.
Do you think this guy bleeds red and green?
Christmas with a View, Christmas with a Prince.
I want this guy to direct a reboot of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Fuck everyone else. This is the guy to do it.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you're right, actually. He's got 2 other movies that are in post-production right now: Romance in the Wilds and Christmas in the Wilds. So,
okay, maybe he should also direct some episodes of Survivor Man or something.
Yeah.
I bet he despises Christmas. There's no way that he still likes it.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's what I keep. It's like those Christmas year-round stores. It's like, yeah, that would ruin everything about Christmas to me.
Yes.
Like,
well, that's what happened with me when I worked at Hot Topic. I can't. If anyone says Nightmare Before Christmas, I want to throw up.
I'll bet.
I can't. I only imagine little teen kids in their smelly little shits making out by the Nightmare Before Christmas aisle. I'm like, get out.
Yeah, I worked at Spencer's Gifts for a week, so I can tell you that I really get tired of people talking about how much they love dildos and
I bet.
crass t-shirts.
I love dildos.
I heard you guys have dildos.
As an 18-year-old virgin, I did not do really well. I did not excel at selling dildos to elderly women.
Can you tell me how this works? No.
It's just like I don't remember what they asked me, but I remember being specifically asked about a sexual stimulant product of that nature by a woman who was 30 years my senior at least, and I did not know how to deal with it.
I bet you had excessive sweat.
You're the
excessive
expert.
Sweat. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You work here.
Right. Yeah. I worked at minimum wage. That was $5.25 an hour at the time. So I was not qualified for anything.
How do I stick this in my rectum, young man? Please instruct me.
Yeah, I had to do Twilight and Nightmare Before Christmas for 5 years.
Oh, I'll bet. You had Twilight fever going on that time, I'm guessing.
I would say Hot Topic is still living on Twilight money.
Of course they are. They're still living on Marilyn Manson money. I don't know how this business model is successful.
He's still making records. Still.
Yeah. Is he, though?
Yeah. Like he had one this year.
But is it?
Whoa.
Yeah.
But is it?
I'm sorry, Miss Manson. Woo.
I am for real. Now we're on the same page. I like it.
Now we can. Are we going to do our whole mall rat section of the podcast where we talk about our mall jobs?
I think so. Yeah. I never worked at the mall, but I definitely was one of those shitty kids that shopped at Hot Topic, and definitely had a Nightmare Before Christmas hoodie that I wore. I wore on the reg. Yeah. So sorry.
I once bought red hair dye there. Yep.
Hey, the hair dye works.
It worked, but then I went to summer camp and it immediately turned orange in the Florida sun. So it was really cool. I was the coolest 7th grader that you can imagine.
Nice.
Imagine how cool a 7th grader can be. Cooler than that.
Cooler. Fact.
I was that guy.
Fact.
You were a pre-dildo selling 7th grader.
Yes, I was. I did not know what horrors the mall would wreak on me later in life.
More like don't. Right?
Yeah. All right, Rob.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
Either take another drink or no more drinks. One or the other.
I'm not done with this beverage. We got to go hunting. We're talking Cooter of the Week.
Cooter of the Week.
Bob, I have a question for you, and I have never asked you this question once in my life.
Go ahead.
What's a cooter?
Cooter is a character type we hunt every week here on Straight Chilling, and as Justin would say, it is a Straight Chilling exclusive. To be qualified as a cooter, you have to hit 3 of 5 points. The 5 points are smug arrogance, sexual deviance, manipulation, attire, and overall patheticness. Do you guys have anybody you would like to
Danielle,
take to Cooter Court?
Do you want to do the honors of our obvious first choice?
It's Ian.
It's Ian.
Yeah, it's Ian.
What's your first point you want to hit for him?
Smug arrogance of being the world's best Satanist.
Yeah.
I also
real prize for that.
I wanted to mention, because we have talked about this on the show before, like the Church of Satan being like an actual thing that doesn't. It's not as depicted as in movies, and like it's very like politically minded and like aware of science and things like this. It's not.
It's more of a political figure than anything else.
You're not just like actually trying to conjure Satan in a back room in a library, and that's not what we're talking about. Just to be clear, this is like movie Satanist. It's a different thing. So yeah,
it's
Ian.
Lord Satanist.
Yeah, definitely got the smug arrogance. Like he thinks he can do all this shit on his own for sure. Also manipulation. He's definitely manipulating Audrey and Henry. I mean, he's flat out lying to him, saying like, "Yeah, I'm going to bring your grandchild back to life," and he has no intention of doing so whatsoever, just so he can use.
And
their
you
book.
give me this book and give me 10 grand.
Yeah, and 10 grand. Yeah.
Why even do that though? If your end game is to like get Satan to fill this husk person, like why? If your goal is to bring Satan back to Earth, and you're the best Satanist in the world, what's that 10 grand really going to do for you? Like once Satan's there, either you're going to have a flaming spike up your butthole, or you're going to be his right hand man. It's nowhere in between.
Yeah, basically so. So he's dumb.
Also, appearance with his backwards hair,
dude. Yes. That hair, it's an anomaly for the most of the movie. I'm like, man, why does this guy look like the worst emo kid of all time? And then it turns out it's because he has terrible long hair that he has combed over in disgusting fashion. And like, for what it's worth, like they did a good job of making him literally have like a rodent like appearance in this movie.
Yes, dirty.
You notice that? Grungy. He kind of like does a like sort of like puts his teeth out prominently in such a way to like it was very rodent like to me.
Basement dweller.
Yeah. And the hair being fucked up, and literally he's also like as part of the ritual putting out dead rats in certain places at certain proximity. It was fucking weird. So like there's a connection between this guy and rats and mice, I think.
Yeah. Sexual deviance, I don't really think we get any of that from him.
Or anybody really in this movie.
Yeah,
well,
not really.
No.
Not for sexual gratification.
Patheticness. I would give him patheticness because like his mom is just trying to cook him dinner, and then he just murders her.
Yeah.
Yeah, skyrockets in patheticness.
Yeah.
It's a real classic tale. Tale as old as time. The lasagna murders.
I mean, I murder lasagna, but not the chef. That's just rude.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
That's rude. You won't get any more lasagna with that attitude.
No, you won't.
I think that's a solid like 4 out of 5 for Ian, which is impressive. Anybody else we want to haul into Cooter Court? Do we want to talk about Audrey and Henry, maybe? I think they're probably the only other people that might register.
I think that's fair to put them on trial. Let's do it.
Okay. So as a couple, I think they kind of do everything together. I think it's fair to like judge them together.
Okay. Yeah. I think we could also individualize some of it, but
yeah, maybe so.
Go on.
We'll get into it. Definitely, I think they're smug in that they just assume that they can actually bring their grandson back to life. And they like buy this book and they spend like however tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. They blow like their entire savings on this one book. And considering like the dude's a doctor and as old as they are, that's probably quite a considerable amount of money that they've blown on this book. And they do that not knowing for sure if they can even use it, which takes like some arrogance, I would say.
I think that would take some patheticness too.
Oh, yeah,
like,
also
were like, the idea, like, and they make this explicit. Like Audrey at one point was saying, like, we tried to get our daughter to move on from the death of her son, but I didn't know then how impossible it was to move on. It's like, no, it's not fucking impossible. People do it every fucking day. Like this is. Grief is understandable and people deal with grief in different ways. But if your method of dealing with grief involves murdering several people, you're probably not doing it right. You're probably kind of being a prick, and you're definitely pretty arrogant for thinking that your grief entitles you to take someone's life.
I also do. I'd like to clarify that I don't think they ever intended to kill anybody. It just sort of happened that's not what it worked out.
But anything for Jackson means what it says too.
True.
They were willing to do that when the rubber hit the road. They could do it.
And speaking of killing, and one of the points, manipulation. When Audrey is like, she's like, "You gonna let me go?" She's like, "Yep. We're just going to do this and let you go." Yeah. I'm like, you're a liar.
Yeah,
you are a liar.
Fucked up. Yeah.
But she was pretty bad at lying anyways. Like, Shannon was like, all right, bitch, I got to kill you, I guess. Yeah. But, like, she was trying.
So I don't think they quite hit look and attire because they really fit the mold of an elderly, couple and an elderly doc. And I don't think sexual deviance, like we said, is really applicable anywhere in this film as far as I can recall. So I think they are just squeaking in there. I think we could probably book them on the other three, though. On manipulation, smug arrogance, and patheticness.
Yeah, I think they get 3 out of 5, where Ian would get 4 out of 5. So if we're picking one, I think Ian's probably going to take the cake.
Definitely.
But if we're looking for more,
Cooter cake.
We could get Audrey and Henry for sure. We got some Cooters. We booked them. Success. We don't need Justin.
6-6 success.
We got it.
Ooh.
That's right. We are for real on this podcast. Just want to be real clear about that. What are we doing? We're gonna let our hair down. We're gonna talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, please kick us off. What you been watching?
Oh, thanks. Not a ton of viewing this week. This is embarrassing. I have to confess this. One of the things that I have been not watching really so much as listening to is YouTube reaction videos of people watching my favorite sitcoms while I work, because I know the sitcoms too well, and watching them on their own has gotten tiresome in my downtime. So while I'm working and doing shit, I just have people laughing at jokes that I once laughed at, and it's sad. But I like it. I like it a lot. I've been watching a YouTube channel called The Normies, and they react to every goddamn show there is to react to, pretty much. And I enjoy it. They're fun.
I can relate to this. I will watch YouTube videos and then immediately watch a reaction to that video.
Right? Yes.
And it feels like a different video. Like, I like the commentary about the video because then I'm like, yes, me too. Or, I didn't think about that. And so, I don't know. I feel you. Rob's laughing at both of us now.
Yeah, this is not something I've ever dipped my toes into. Maybe I think it would be entertaining. I've never seen it. But what sitcoms are you watching reactions to?
I'm watching a lot. I think I watched through the entirety at this point of Community reactions. And what they do is it's like they take 10 minutes worth of clips from the show and they play it and have people watching it and laughing at it. And then they'll do 5 minutes of discussion after. So it's really only 15 to 20 minute videos.
Okay.
They're not the full show. They can't legally do that, or they avoid legal problems by doing that. So, I mean, yeah, to me, I think it might be a byproduct of loneliness in the time of COVID.
Yeah.
Because it's the same sort of thing that people have told us they like listening to us because it's like chilling with your buddies or whatever, which grateful that people think that, because up until I started listening to this sort of thing, I don't think I could really relate to that. But now I feel like, yeah, it's like introducing somebody I don't know to my favorite show and allowing them to experience. But I think it's kind of a byproduct of being not speaking to humans most of the time anymore.
That's fair.
That makes sense, man. Yeah, I get that for sure. I listened to podcasts when I had a desk job, like from 9 to 5. I was listening to podcasts just to like get me through the fucking day. But yeah, I get that. Yeah. But
in real watching, in actual things that I watched, like sat down to watch, I watched HBO Max finally became available on Roku, so I've been watching some stuff on that, including there's the new Looney Tunes that's on there that's like very, very reminiscent of classic Looney Tunes, and they did a holiday special. I watched that. It was enjoyable, and it's very much in the vein. Like it's shocking how tonally similar it is to the old stuff. And the animation is it's really cool. I don't know that I'd watch it a whole lot, but if I was a kid, I'd be all over it. Like I was with the classics on Cartoon Network and whatever else. And then I also watched Class Action Park. Are you guys familiar with Class Action Park?
No.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
So Action Park itself, it's a documentary about a place called Action Park, which is famous in New Jersey for being, and worldwide, I think at this point, for being the most dangerous theme park that's ever existed, water park.
It's insane.
It is truly insane, and it is a true crime documentary at its core, because it's was run by a monstrous, negligent piece of shit, by my estimation.
See, I never watched Class Action, the documentary, but I watched I watch a bunch of these YouTube channels where they
like Defunct Land and all that.
Yes, and they just talk about different parks or top 5 scariest whatever, and they had one on that park, and it was just like the videos that you would watch that it would show footage of people in these pools or swinging off that rope swing. I'm like, and they're like, oh, I'm just swimming and I found a piece of glass. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's some serious stories that go on in this thing. And unbeknownst to me, one of my favorite comedians, Chris Gethard, is in it, which I should have known because he's talked about this on stage before. But he's telling stories about people like multiple people drowning in one wave pool. He's like, the first person dies in the wave pool, you close the fucking wave pool. Yeah. You don't go on to murder again. So this is a really fucking interesting documentary. It's a feature length thing, so it's not like a series or anything. And I think it's worth a watch. It's really interesting to me. And then last, I'll mention a movie that Justin had brought up last week or the week before called Klaus. On his recommendation, I checked this out. Have you guys seen Klaus on Netflix?
No.
Okay, so Justin had mentioned it, and it sounded good enough to me to warrant a viewing. And I would say that within the 2 days after I watched it, I put together a top 10 Christmas movies list for myself and for this other thing I was participating in, and it made the list. It's a damn good fucking Christmas movie. It's a family film. Justin described it as sort of like Emperor's New Groove-ish, and I would definitely agree with that. Like comedy-wise, it kind of fits in that mold, and the animation on this thing is so fucking gorgeous. And it's basically about a version of the origins of Santa that takes into account a bunch of different pieces of the lore and makes a lot of fun jokes about it. It's really cool. It's on Netflix. Recommended. There you go.
Sweet deal.
Klaus.
Danielle.
Oh, and
what you been
J.K.
watching?
Simmons is Santa.
Even better.
Hi. This is not really horror related, but it kind of is. I started watching The Boys. I'm very late to the party, but I'm on season 1, episode 6, and there is some gruesome kills in this show. It's disgusting, but it's really good so far.
I have not seen it yet. That and Mandalorian. Well, I watched Mandalorian, but I can't bring myself to give a shit about Star Wars anymore. I just can't do it.
I'm just same.
But The Boys has been on my radar, and it's been sort of maybe I should check that out. Enough people have been talking about it to where it seems worthwhile. But
if I tell you a kill, would you care for a spoiler or
not really?
Okay,
maybe retroactively, but I won't hold it against you because I'm saying yes. Okay,
there's this vial of stuff that the superheroes are using called Compound V, and it gives them like steroids kind of, and their powers are and so this girl takes it and her landlord keeps asking for her in this episode, keeps asking for her rent. And so he finally comes upstairs and he's like, hey, bitch, I need your rent. And she's like, oh, come inside and I'll give it to you. And she's like acting all seductive. And she fucking squishes his head with her booty cheeks.
Holy shit.
Yeah, she like sits on his face and just squishes his whole head with her booty cheeks. And
death by booty cheeks.
Yeah, and the funniest part is she doesn't even notice. She's like, this is great. We're having a great time. And then she just looks down and she's like, oh, I freaking squished your whole face with my booty cheeks. I'm like, how do you not feel that?
She licked my asshole a little bit.
But if that doesn't help you want to watch that show, I don't know what will. So
it definitely adds a pellet in the let's watch category.
And then the other night, my husband and I started Fat Man. The Mel Gibson Santa Claus movie.
Oh, okay. How's that?
It is so wild. Like, my husband always wants to start movies at like 1 a.m. And I'm like, dude, how are we going to watch this whole thing? But so we watched like half of it and we're going to watch the other half, but it's very odd. So Mel Gibson's Santa Claus. Well, really he's Kris Kringle, but I don't really understand. I don't know yet if people know if he's Santa Claus or what, but this kid gets coal for Christmas because he like is bad. And then he hires this hitman to kill Santa Claus, which is Mel Gibson. And Mel Gibson's having a terrible time because he can't pay his bills because people aren't giving him money. I don't know. But he signs a contract with the military and he's like, all right, my elves can work for you and make weapons. So that's where I am. That's where I am.
Wow.
And that's where I've stopped. So
wow.
I'm very much into that because I don't know if you guys know this about me, but if I'm not watching a horror movie, I'm watching a shitty action movie.
Oh, okay.
I love them more than life. I love them. They're great. But I'm loving it so far.
Must have put you in heaven.
I saw that one in theater. It was great.
Well, for a Mel Gibson joint about Christmas, I mean, there's a lot of background there for that. There's a lot to unpack with that.
Yeah.
And
red
flags.
Yeah. I thought about that, but I let it marinate in the back.
Fair enough. Awesome. Bob, did you watch anything this week?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of shit this week. I was exposed to a coworker that was tested positive for COVID, so I had to quarantine. Yeah.
Did that happen to you?
Your boy is COVID free, so thank God for that.
Hey, all right.
But I had a lot of downtime and I watched a lot of movies. We're going to be talking about our top 10 of 2020 next week. So I've been trying to catch up on some new releases that I hadn't seen before. I watched a couple things on Shudder. One of them obviously was anything for Miss Jackson. I also checked out A Good Woman is Hard to Find, which is a new release on Shudder, which is, I don't know that I really call this like an outright horror movie. It's more of like a revenge thriller kind of thing. Solid movie for what it is, though. There's this woman, her husband gets murdered, and she sort of tries to find out who killed him, and through the process of doing that gets entangled with some like drug dealers and gets into like a real dodgy situation. She's trying to protect her kids while trying to avenge her husband's death. It's like really solid acting in this movie. I totally recommend watching it. It's on Shudder. Just don't expect it to be like an outright horror movie. It definitely is not, but it's solid for what it is. I do
What's
recommend
the name again?
that. It's called A Good Woman is Hard to Find.
Okay.
I also checked out the remake of Castle Freak, which again is on Shudder. It is just terrible. Absolutely horrible.
I didn't know that was a remake.
Yeah. The original was on Shudder. I don't know if it is still. I haven't checked that out. I'm a fan of the original.
Are you?
Yeah. I like the original.
Are you?
It's tough to watch.
Well, it's tough to take your argument seriously when you love the first one. To me,
I did not say I love it, but I like it.
Okay.
Anyway,
whatever.
The remake.
Interesting. European style.
The remake's pretty bad, man. It's it's a Fangoria production. Barbara Crampton was one of the
Babs is involved.
One of the producers on it. Yeah, she's not in the movie. It starts off trying to do this like punk rock 80s thing, and then you get into the meat of the movie, and then it's just like, okay, we're in a big castle, and there's like some weird sexy stuff going on, and the end happens, and it's like somebody watched these other more successful movies like, you know, Mandy and Color Out of Space that were playing around with some of these H.P. Lovecraft sort of ideas, and they're like, okay, well, let's rub some H.P. Lovecraft on the third act of this, and they did that, and it's just very like disjointed and just very ineffective and bad. It's a bad movie. I would not don't waste your time on it.
Wow.
I also watched another movie called The Dark and the Wicked. This was put out by IFC Midnight on Blu-ray. I don't know. I'm sure you could probably pick it up on like a random VOD site if you wanted to get it through like iTunes or Amazon. I'm sure you could rent it. Not on Shudder as far as I'm aware. I
rented that on Amazon.
Did you? Okay. What did you think about it, Danielle?
It was very odd. Maybe I'm not smart enough and need my horror movies to be like in my face with the story, but I was very confused.
Yeah.
But I did like the acting was good. I really liked the imagery of like the old man in the bed. He was gross and scary.
Yeah.
And then also the part with the brother was very like coming home to his wife. I don't want to give spoilers for that one, but that part was really not expected.
Yeah.
But it was all right. It was an all right watch.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you. It's okay. I would give it a light recommend. Like, you don't run out and watch it. The main thing that like really intrigued me about this one is it's written and directed by Brian Bertino, who you probably would recognize from The Strangers. He wrote and directed that, which is a banger. This movie's not as subtle as The Strangers. It's definitely got some more like haunting / the devil is in my house kind of vibe going on. It's about this elderly couple that's living out sort of in the boonies, and the woman ends up committing suicide, and her kids come home to sort of like take care of her affairs and like take care of this elderly man that's bedridden, and they just kind of find out like what their mother was going through by like reading through her diary and stuff, and like they see crazy visions and whatnot. It's very much like the devil is in my house. It's got some cool scares. Some of it is just like overreaching. Like they wanted to do stuff the budget just definitely didn't allow. And I feel like this movie would have benefited if they stuck to like the less is more kind of mindset. The low budget hurt for sure.
Yep. It had a lot of the same elements as Anything for Jackson as far as adhesive. Kind of wasn't very adhesive. Like, it could have been easily done. Like you said, they are just seeing what she was going through and why she told them not to come. Mm-hmm. And they could have just stuck with that, but they kind of made it ominous.
Yeah. Anything for Jackson, I think, bites off just as much as it could chew. This bites off just a little bit more than it can. I think they just try to do too much. As far as like new movies goes, that's all I watch. I watched a couple older movies. I picked up a Vinegar Syndrome release for their
around here that means big money.
Yeah, big money. For their Black Friday sale, I picked up a movie called Fade to Black. It's a slasher movie from 1980. This is actually on Shudder as well. If you don't want to buy it from Vinegar Syndrome, you can stream it.
You can stream it?
Yeah, if you wanted to. Yeah. This is
since Soju's not here, should we give you shit about the steelbook?
Yeah, give me shit.
Where did Bob go wrong? Or he and his friends sifted way too long through those Blu-ray bins, and it gets worse. He'll have noticed he wasted all his dough on those DVDs.
Don't sue us for copyright infringement. Yeah, this movie's pretty dope.
That was clearly parody.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I would recommend watching this 100%. Basically, the synopsis is this movie's about this guy who's like, I don't know, mid-20s or something. He's like obsessed with film, watches movies constantly. He works at this like, I don't know, like factory. They basically like make film prints. He like collects movie posters, all this stuff. He's definitely like deranged, and there's like a certain number of things that happen in his life that sort of like derail him emotionally, and he starts to murder people. And when he does so, he dresses up as famous characters from movies that he loves. And he dresses up as like, classic looking Dracula. He dresses up as the Mummy.
What's this called again?
This is called Fade to Black. It's from 1980.
I haven't seen this.
Yeah, I recommend it. He basically just dresses up as all these. He dresses up like a cowboy in one scene, and he's got like a little 6-shooter, and he's like shooting people.
I like your hat.
I did like his hat. It's like a solid Vinegar Syndrome release, which I feel like I haven't said in a while. But I definitely recommend watching this movie if you're into old slashers. Like, this is something a little off the beaten path. Like, you're not getting the like real subtle POV, Halloween, dagger stuff. Like, this guy's just in full goofy costumes. It actually reminded me of that scene in Martin where he dresses up as a vampire.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah, that's this whole movie. That's this whole movie. So I recommend it for sure if you're into that kind of thing. The last thing that I wanted to mention was I revisited a movie called Wrist Cutters, a love story from 2006.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I haven't thought about that in a while. Tom Waits is in that, isn't he?
Yes, Tom Waits is in that. This is I haven't seen it in a while. I watched it with it's my favorite Tom Waits song. Thank you. I watched it with the lady friend. It's got Will Arnett in it as well. It's like, I don't know. I
didn't remember that either. Jesus.
It's a solid movie. Yeah, dude. It's got fucking Nick Offerman in it. He's like a minor role. He plays a police officer. There's like some random big names just sort of scattered throughout this movie, and it's just like a quirky ass like love story. I don't know. It's fun.
I remember really liking that, but I cannot tell you much beyond the Tom Waits thing about it now.
Yeah, it's got the singer from Gorgol Bordello in it.
Franz Nicolay's in that shit?
Yeah, is
that him?
I don't know.
That's him, right?
I don't know if
I might have the wrong name.
I don't know. I can't.
I might be mixing up my singers here.
Yeah, I think you are mixing. I don't know his name, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. Anyways, that dude's in it. The movie starts off with a damn Tom Waits song. I don't know. It's solid recommend. That's all I got. That's enough. I've talked for long enough. We got one more segment we got to get to. It is our Hotline Scream. If you are listening, want to call in, leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We have 2 voicemails this week. First up, I believe we're going to hear from an old roommate of Randy and mine, Benji. Let's hear what Benji has to say.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Straight Chillin'. It's your boy, Benji. Calling in as a fresh patron. I appreciate the shout out and the double salute from Juice. I think this is a longtime fan, first time caller. Just want to give the boys a shout out, say what's up. Andy, I really hope that I get to see you in bed again sometime soon. Get your ass back here. And Bob, I certainly appreciate the, let's call it a galore of horror collection. Like, I really hope you have insurance on that collection because it's freaking huge. And Pieces was freaking fantastic. Like, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was, like the cover said, yet I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, what more do you want? Like, you get slashers, you get like co-ed girls like all over the place just getting murderized. The soundtrack was dope. It was in Spanish. That's fantastic. But most importantly, like, it had that psychological depth to it. I know you're laughing now, but like depth, I mean, like Golden's like some mommy issues. Like, I killed my mom, so let me put her back together. I miss my mommy. Poor guy. Nonetheless, certainly I'm enjoying the journey. I hope that they do make a horror version of Frozen 3 so that, me and little Benji can watch it together. I don't know. We'll see at some point. Regardless, Soju Strange, enjoy the Southern Korea Peninsula. You've seen the world, man. Do good stuff. Anyway, boys, have a good time. Check you later.
I will say that is some of the more coherent ramblings I've heard out of Benjamin in my life.
Yeah. The man
that was great.
Pontificates wildly, and that was pretty reined in. So appreciate that, Ben.
Yeah. No, I wanted to go full blast. Benji, call back next week. Have a few drinks beforehand. Let's go nuts, buddy. No, Benji, like Rob said, is an old friend, and he's the fact that he is just now like watching pieces and getting to the horror thing, that warms my soul, buddy. That's good shit.
Yeah. It's a few years too late, if you ask me, but better late than never.
This man took our first podcast portraits.
He did.
Shit. Like,
that's true.
Yeah. I also once directed him in a commercial that never went to air, and he was very much a diva, and it was hilarious in retrospect.
And to clarify, he was dressed up as a Santa Claus, but his like belly was like a bear. Is hanging.
It was like Hugh Hefner Santa Claus with his belly out and in his boxers. And he was very self-conscious and very diva about it. It was very, very good.
It was for a local art house cinema, to which they said, "We don't want to air this."
Yeah. We had, kids come here, right?
They said, "No thanks."
Yeah.
No thanks.
One
of the greatest stories from that era.
Yeah.
Thanks, Benji.
Very funny. Thanks for calling in, Ben. It's good to hear from you. We got one more voicemail. We're gonna hear from Wes and Wes's mother. He actually called in with his mom this week. Yeah.
All right, let's give it a listen.
Here we go.
Hey there, it's Misty, 1 a.m. Wes's mom. Just calling in to say hi to the gentleman who makes my good little boy Wes entertained, as Bob would say. We have a funny quick story to tell you about our drive across country.
All right. So when we were driving across country, when we were driving across country, we were in
Phoenix,
I think. And this was like the fourth day driving or something. And I had my Bluetooth set up and was listening to you guys. And my mom's radio in her car interfered with mine. And so it was on her radio. And so she called me and was like, Wesley, you're on the radio. You and your friends are on the radio. I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I hear Bob. Why do I hear myself on the radio? And I was like, Mom, that's the Bluetooth. And she goes, no, you're on the radio. And I said, no, Mom, that's the Bluetooth. She goes, I don't understand. And then, it took her like till the end of the day to realize that it was just my Bluetooth. So and now Mom say half star for the Yabos.
What's that mean?
It just says
half star for the Yabos.
Yabos. All right, guys.
That was exceptional. I hope his mom never knows what that means, ever.
I mean, for our sake, I hope that as well.
That was very wholesome.
That was. Thank you, High Noon Misty, as I'm dubbing you. That was lovely to hear. If anybody else wants to, we want to meet your parents.
I'd like to meet that mom and
if
or
you're
dad.
comfortable letting your parents know you listen to what we talk about, then have them call us and have them explain to us how to be cooler parents. That was awesome. And that story is pretty funny too.
That is hilarious, actually. Yeah. So, Wes, your mom is right. We are actually very famous. We're on all the radio stations across the country. Everybody listens to us.
My name's actually Ezra Klein. I don't know if I've said that.
Yeah. No big deal. Shit. Yeah.
Also love speech to text on this. It was really, really good. It says, so yeah, now moms say, what's the mean wage? Half stars for the yacht club.
Half star for the yacht
Stars
club.
for the yacht club. That's what our bougie counterparts over in uptight, not chillin' podcast is doing. That's what they give.
Half star for the yacht
Half
club.
star for the yacht club. Love it.
Yeah, I would wear that on a shirt for sure. Again, if you guys are listening and want to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. As I already mentioned, next week's show, we're going to be talking about our top 10 of 2020. I want to know, what are your favorite movies of 2020, or what are your least favorite movies of 2020? Call in, let us know. What did you think about the year? There's some decent stuff. You know, it's been a weird year, but what'd you think? What'd you like? What did you dislike?
And tell us what your parents think about the year.
Yeah. More importantly, have your parents just call us directly.
Yeah. We need everybody to have their parents fill out permission slips for them to listen to our podcast from here on out. Yeah. So go ahead and have them call us and we'll have a conversation.
We need verbal permission, and it needs to be recorded. So have them call into the hotline and say, my 38-year-old son has full permission to listen to Straight Chilling Podcast horror movie review whenever he wants.
And of course we'll respond.
Catch you fuckers at a bad time.
Yes, we will.
And the only verification is your social security number.
Yeah, please leave that.
Yeah, please.
Or else it's not valid.
That's right. We'll check that against our SSN database, which we for sure have. And you'll be good to go.
Make sure you're a citizen. We can't be having illegals calling in. That's insane.
I think that's voter fraud.
That's voter fraud.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. This podcast
Stop the steal. Stop stealing the podcast.
This is pod fraud. We're not even a real pod.
Pod
fraud.
Dude.
Sorry.
If it's on a pod, it is fraud.
It is fraud.
Can I tell you guys a very dad story about that really, really fast?
Yes.
Definitely.
Please.
It's a dad story. Well, it's about my husband, but he's pretty much the same thing. We were riding bikes and we got close to this park that has a bunch of water, and these frogs were jumping across the sidewalk, and one almost jumped into his tire, and he full on stopped just to tell me that the frog was trying to create insurance frog. And he very much thought that was very funny.
I love that.
That's great.
That's pretty good.
Bravo.
Bravo.
You can tell
we both personality.
You can tell we've both reached a certain age because we definitely are on board with this, even if you're not.
Give it time. Comedic genius. Danielle, again, thank you so much for sitting in with us here this week. You want to remind everybody one more time where they can find all your spooky doings?
Yes, all my spooky doings. So my personal spooky doings is easy to remember. It's She Spooky on Twitter and Instagram. And then I contribute to Something Ghoulish, which you can go to our website and find all of our cool stuff like editorials, podcasts, interviews, stuff like that. It's somethingghoulish.com. And then you can just search Something Ghoulish on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. Thanks again. We'll try and have you back on, hopefully before another year passes. So
I will come on every day of my life. So,
well, that is more than we do, but we appreciate the availability.
Yes. Thank you.
Forever. Anyway, until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on our daily Slack channel conversations, just hit us up on one of those social media outlets. I'll send you a link to join in on the Slack channel fun. Again, next week, we're talking about our top 10 of 2020. There is no movie to watch. I don't know. Get your own list ready. Weigh in. We want to know what you like. We want to know what you dislike. Join in on the conversation.
One voicemail per person, please.
Yes. Also, one voicemail per person, please. Yeah, for sure. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Game over.